Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how I made this very special card for my daughter Maisie and talk about how you can make kind of weird things go together when you're making that custom card for someone. So my daughter is really into music. She plays guitar almost every day, and she also loves vintage stuff. She loves Paris theme. She has a lot of Paris theme things in her room, and I wanted to kind of get a lot of these different elements together in a card. So I started off with stamping the only guitar stamp I had, believe it or not. I think I must have gotten rid of some when I did my big KonMari D-stash, but I had this electric guitar and I thought it was pretty cute. And so I stamped that on some paper and let it dry. And then I went to look for papers that I thought would go well. Now I knew I was going to use a Eiffel Tower die cut, so I thought it would be pretty to have like a starry sky. And then I have this Happy Birthday to You music paper I thought would go really well. So I thought navy and coral were also kind of like a quirky combination, and my daughter Maisie is very quirky, so I thought that would be really cute. So now I'm just kind of playing with some of the elements. Now that Eiffel Tower die cut, that was an old Tim Holtz die I bought on clearance many years ago and have yet to cut it out. And so I thought this was the perfect opportunity. And I love to cut those thick dies on a mat board to get a really nice thick embellishment. I'm using a script stamp to stamp clear embossing ink on this black mat board. And now I'm going to use some silver embossing powder. Now this embossing powder is kind of cool. It's by Andy Skinner. I think it's Emerald Creek is the company that puts it out, but it's got different textures to it. So if you're just doing like stamping, say like an image, it'll come out nice and silver and pretty. But if you're going to do like a really thick embossing technique, which I'll show you in a minute, you actually get these kind of crunchy, crusty bits that just look kind of old and vintage and rusty and kind of fun. So you can see here I got just a pretty silver emboss, right? So I love that it has those two different effects from one powder. So for this die cut actually also had a fleur-de-lis, and I thought I had these grand plans of doing all this like Boy Scout like crafting with this die. Never happened, but I'm so glad I could use it with this card because I thought it was really cute. So I taped a skewer to the back of this die cut because I needed to coat that up really well with my embossing ink and then just coat it with the powder. So this is one layer. And then while it's still hot, what you can do is just press it into the powder and keep heating it up and do it as many times as you want. You get a nice thick enameled effect and you just get a really just kind of patina tarnished look to it, which is kind of cool. So here I'm using a kind of a coral and then kind of like a poppy red color to color the guitar, and I went in with the coral first and then I'm doing the edges with the red. The reason I'm doing it this way is because I want to be able to overblend with a coral and get a slightly lighter shade of coral. I don't know if reds don't really show up that well on camera, but it just gives me a kind of a soft dark to light tone in there, and it blended really well. This is the Accent Opaque cardstock, which I've heard a lot of stampers really like. I tried a ream of it. I don't think it's quite as good as Nina for Copic coloring, but it gets the job done. It's not bad. It's just as good if you're doing ink blending though, so you can save yourself a little money if you're doing a lot of ink blending techniques with this, or if you're coloring small images, it really doesn't, you really don't need the Nina for it. This will work just as well. But if I was doing something like a full illustration or like a flower with really big petals, I definitely would want my Nina because it just blends that much better. So here I'm just kind of playing with this. Oh, another stamp in my stash that I don't think I've ever used. This actually was a gift. It was a set of bird stamps and had a nest and had dies that went with it. I think it was by Sizzix. I never used it. It was a gift, but I thought, oh, I could throw a bird in this card. That might like also help tie these weird elements together. So I did the marker stamping technique where you take any water-based markers you got and you just color it on the rubber. You can put several colors there if you want and stamp it on your paper, and it just gives you like a colored image that's really easy. I also use my Copics to go over the sentiment, and I'm just punching that out with a circle punch so I could have kind of like a fun little, I was thinking I would do kind of like a sunshine with it, but that didn't end up working out. But you'll see that when we get to putting the card together. So one way that I make a bunch of weird elements work together is I repeat colors. So I took my cue from the coral paper and I chose that for the guitar and also for the sentiment. I thought I could pull in a little bit of yellow there. That might look kind of cool, but you know, it really, that bright yellow was just a little too much. But luckily with double-sided tape, you usually can remove it if you don't press it too hard. I used a white paint pen to add reflections to the guitar and also just to make the word epic pop a little bit. That's one of my favorite techniques. The white paint pen or white gel pen works really well over Copic markers or any alcohol markers because the alcohol does not bleed up through your water-based pen. So that works out very well. Sometimes if you're using watercolor products and you do the white pen on top, it'll leach up through and you have to just go over it with another coat. Not a big deal. So if you got water-based markers, you can color your guitar with water-based markers. Now I was thinking it'd be cool to maybe kind of like lean the guitar up against the Eiffel Tower, but I just was really struggling with getting this layout to look right. So I wasn't even sure I was going to use a fleur-de-lis on this. I'm just kind of at the point where I'm just kind of putting stuff together and seeing if I can make these elements work. And I was kind of stressing out. I was like, oh no, this isn't going to look very good. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm making this for my daughter. I'm putting things that she loves in it. It doesn't have to appeal to anybody else in the world except for her. So keep that in mind when you're creating a bespoke card for somebody. You're creating that for somebody based on their interests, based on what they like, based on your feelings for them and how much you love them. So don't worry if your card doesn't look like it belongs in a magazine. It doesn't. It's not mass market. It is meant to appeal to the person you're giving it to. And that's what I was going for here. Try to repeat some elements, try to repeat some colors, and you usually can kind of eke those imagery, those things that really are personal, the person you're giving the card to, but maybe don't design-wise go together. You can kind of push them together a little bit that way and make the whole design come together. So that would be my advice. And definitely make those cards that capture the uniqueness of the recipient. So I wanted to put my daughter's name on this because I thought she might keep the card. And using the very old Hero Arts I think it was called Dot Alphabet stamp to stamp out Maisie. And I'm using some other pattern papers that came with the Happy Birthday paper pack, and I am piecing them together. There was also a little like strip sentiment that said Happy Birthday to you, so I wanted to put that on the little Maisie tag. And I'm just kind of moving stuff together, putting stuff together. That Happy Birthday to You is a lighter shade of the coral from the Happy Birthday paper. The yellow is kind of like the background of the Happy Birthday paper because it's just a really soft yellow. The bright yellow I tried to work in there earlier was just too bright, but the soft yellow definitely works. And then I'm just snugging that down into the corner of the card, and I feel like that really helps everything come together. Now I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could hang a pair of headphones like off the Eiffel Tower or off the fleur-de-lis? So I stamped the headphones from the Epic Birthday set. That's a very old retired Stampin' Up! Set. I think it might have been like a Celebration one or something. I don't know. I had it forever. But that didn't work. But you know what? I'm going to show you. I'll be able to use those in the center. Now, another tip to get things to match is to use your markers, the same ones you colored with, to color your embellishments. So that little heart brad was pink and it did not match. So I just used the coral or poppy red marker to color that embellishment, and that again helps tie everything together. So what I ended up doing actually was on the inside of the card, I took that little starburst yellow piece and then I layered the headphones on top and just glued it in. And it looked really cute, I think. And there you can see that embossed fleur-de-lis. See how it's got those kind of speckly, rusty bits? That's what that embossing powder does. I think there's a bunch of like Emerald Creek powders that do that, so check them out if you like that sort of thing. And there's the finished card. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it inspires you to use those interesting elements that really speak to the person you're making the card for and give it a try. Make those custom cards because those are what people love, and that's what really makes a card special. So thanks for watching. Please give me a thumbs up before you go. Until next time, happy crafting.